Tommy? Like that. When do you want me to start?
Go ahead now. We'll just edit out anything that doesn't need to be in here. But we'll go ahead.
Okay, so we're going to go. Ready? And... All right. Is there anything else we need in the room? All right, quick message. There's pizza that Sonia and David brought with them with Rabbi Katz. Thank you very much for that. It's from Baltimore, from Amalea's. There's a sign over there and a little bowl for money. One slice is $3, 2 slices for $5, and there's a donation bin too to help cover the cost of this event. So there's some drinks there, some beer. I think there's still some more pizza there. And thank you again, Rabbi Katz, for coming. Just a little background. I know Rabbi Katz from before he was a rabbi in Tzfat. We learned in yeshiva 2004. Actually, I think it's almost exactly 13 years to the day that we met. So we've stayed in touch ever since. And Big Dave, as we called him, was he was a mystery man because he used to be in his room all the time learning. And originally from Dayton, Ohio.
Right.
So I don't know much about that. Wrestler?
Right.
Okay. Wrestler too? Anyone else a wrestler? Wrestler with all sorts of... All right, well, I don't want to waste too much time, so, I guess we'll have a Q&A, or I think you're okay with people asking questions.
Yeah, I think we're going to feel our way through the night. That's what the resolution is. So, I guess I'll just start. Yeah, go ahead. All right, so we'll start the easiest thing here.
Just so you know, because it's 7:50.
So just give me a heads up at 7:40, like wherever we're at, stop and then regroup.
Okay.
No, sorry. Okay, so again, thanks to Ari for putting this night together. He had a very specific, I think, mission in tonight, but he's also aware that everybody here may have their own reasons for being here. So we're not really sure why we're all here, but we're going to find out. So I will start the show, so to speak, by introducing myself through my new book. All right. Now, why are you guys here? Before I even do that, anybody want to raise their hand? What are you expecting? Why are you here? Why am I here? Just so we're all on the same page. Anybody? Is it just a night out in town? Is it a Tuesday night shear? Any takers? Okay. Is that why most people are here? It's an opportunity to learn? All right, that's good. That's why I'm here. So I just came in from Pittsburgh. I'm on a tour across America and Canada. We started off in Chicago, and we went to Cleveland, then over to Pittsburgh, and now we're in Baltimore/Harrisburg, and then a couple days I'm off to Quebec City. The reason for the tour, I teach the B'nai Noahides, and a lot of other things as well. But specifically, I'm going to be taking a lot of drinks, so I'm kind of worn out for the traveling. This particular tour, I travel about 3-4 times a year, and I come through promoting different things that I'm doing. And it's usually the same thing, just more like the updated model. So this particular tour, we're here for this book. It's called Laws of Ger Toshav. So do you mind if I just go ahead and give you a little bit of background of where this book came from? Is that okay with everybody? All right. Long story short, I don't want to bore you with how or why I got involved with non-Jews in Torah. The bottom line is I got involved with non-Jews in learning Torah. So, in Tzfat, and Ari knows the spot well, there's a tourist attraction called the Cave of Shem and Aver. Raise your hand if you know who Shem and Aver were. Real high, so I can see. Real high. Okay, so we're all a little bit educated here. I've always been interested in that. When I was a bacher in yeshiva, when Ari was in preschool, I was fresh off the boat, and I was very interested for personal reasons in Shem ben Noach. Long story short, 10 years later, Ari is already, I think, married by now and gone back to Canada and here, so another quick 10 years. But I had a lot of interest in a hobby of the Torah of Shem ben Noach. Don't ask why. We all have our quirks and our eccentric behaviors. So I was in a night kollel, and it looks like the air conditioning just went down a little bit. Somebody wants to jack. Yeah. All right, but tell Mr. Thermostat to keep it pretty cold. So I had a lot of Shem Torah in my being. I was very interested in it, learning in the kollel, kind of changing directions. All my friends were gone, like Ari and the guys. I was now the senior left-in spot. Everybody moved on with their lives. I was married with a couple of kids. And in the cave of Shem and Aver, where Yaakov ostensibly learned Torah with Shem, there was a Shabbos minyan, and I used to give Divrei Torah about Shem ben Noach in the minyan, right? That turned into, I wanted to give shirim on Shem ben Noach, because he's very interesting. And there's a lot of midrashim and material on Shem, the son of Noach. That led me to an organization I found online called Noahide Nations. Again, we're going to skip a lot of the parts of the story. The story goes, I taught 34 classes, and it went very well. And why don't I teach Jews? That's a question that comes up a lot. Well, if you can show me a yeshiva that wants to hear all about Shem ben Noach, sign me up. I will go teach the Jews about Shem ben Noach. I just never met more than like 5 people that wanted to hear about Shem ben Noach. But the Noahides, my thinking was, wouldn't they want to hear about like the Ben Noach of all time? Right? The B'nai Noach, hearing about the Ben Noach. And it worked. It was a little bit of wisdom, thank God, that worked. So 34 classes later, we have a series. And I'm going to have to take a drink because I really am worn out from the traveling. Sorry about that. I usually don't drink and things like that when I lecture. In the series, again, I have nothing to do with at that time with Noahides. I thought there was like 5 Noahides, the planet. I had really no interest, no desire. I just really wanted to give over amazing Torah on Shem ben Noach. For example, there's a midrash that Shem went to the Garden of Eden when, again, I just speak kind of in English just to keep it uniform for everybody. Noah was maimed by a lion. And Shem had the secrets of Gan Eden to go and get from the tree of life and to heal Noah. And he ate from the tree of life and he lived forever. And 1,300 years later, King Solomon went to Mount Sinai and he felt that Shem was there. And he said, Shem, is that you? And he said, yeah. And he said, how long have you been there, Shem? He says, 1,300 years. And Shem says, what happened around 44, 48? So that was the giving of the Torah. And he goes, oh, thank God it happened. All right, Israel got the Torah. And it's, again, that's highly paraphrased. And I bring that in one of the books I've written called Sul Mazel, which is a commentary on the Parshiot based on non-Jews found in Mikras Gedolos. Meaning, the main classic commentaries, what they had to say about the non-Jew in every single Parsha. And that was the focus of Shem. So that series became that project. That's one separate project. And in the middle of this, I met a guy, and I always quote his name, and he gets embarrassed when I do it. And he's not here, so we can talk all about him. And his name is Ross Bearden. And Ross is like any other typical Noahide. And he pulls me, aside after class, virtually, on the net. And he says, Rabbi Katz, and this is like every Noahide question that ever was asked in the whole world. Can a Noahide keep Shabbos? Now, being from yeshiva, I think everybody in yeshiva knows the answer. Raise your hand if you know the answer to that question. Raise your hand high if you know the answer to that question. Can a non-Jew keep Shabbos? Or a Noahide keep Shabbos? Anyone? What's the answer? But why no?
The long or the short answer?
The short answer.
The answer is a story.
No. The short answer is a goy that keeps Shabbos is chayiv misa. So I'm supposed to tell my new friend Ross, if you do, we're going to kill you. And so I thought it's probably not the time to tell Ross that we're going to execute him for keeping Shabbos. Now, the real answer, on my perspective, is, and Ari will tell you, right? We come from a good, healthy yeshiva where, again, that's common knowledge. You go through yeshiva, as they will say in the vernacular of yeshiva, goy to keep Shabbos is chayav misa, obligated or liable to the death penalty. They don't, and that was my question. My question was to self, hey, I've never actually seen that, right? I never saw with my eyes, where does it say this, and why? I think it's an honest, healthy question. Don't you agree? Everyone agree or disagree at this point? All right, so a lot of things are said in yeshiva, and we all know them and can parrot them and give it over, give a little discourse. But think about this. How many of the things we say in Judaism in general do we know what we mean and what the source is? I'll give you an example. This is a bit of a rabbit trail, but I will give you a rabbit trail example. Have you guys ever heard a Jew say Mazel Tov? Anyone ever hear that expression? Right, a little bit, right? Mazel Tov. What does Mazel Tov mean? Anyone?
Good luck.
Luck?
Good luck.
Good luck.
Good constellation.
Good. So, I think if we were to just isolate the conversation, do Jews believe in Mazel only based on, another way of rephrasing it, do we say Mazel Tov and it's okay? Are we idolaters for saying Mazel Tov? So I think everybody would agree, yeah, okay, we say Mazel Tov. But then you give a little bit more meat on the bones to that question. Do Jews believe in Mazel? And what's the answer? No, we don't believe in Mazel. But we do. That's the problem, but we do. So then they'll quote for you Shabbos 156, the page number and tractate of the Talmud Shabbos. And everybody will read it. Ein Mazel Yisrael, Yesh Mazel Yisrael. It's a rhetorical question. Is there Mazel for Israel, or is there not Mazel for Israel? And the answer is, no, there's not Mazel for Israel. And everyone will say, see, you're an idolater for saying Mazel Tov. And they'll say, but I say Mazel Tov all the time. It's okay. So how do you resolve that we believe in Mazel, and Jewish people have been saying this since the beginning of time, but yet we read the Talmud, and it says we are against Mazel. So there's a book that I teach from. One of the things that I got interested in when I got involved with Noahides is the concept of Mazel. And in the Kabbalistic works, Mazel is a very, very big thing. And it's not what most people think it is. Now there is something called lower Mazel, and there's something called higher Mazel. Lower Mazel can be what this gentleman here is saying. What's your name? Carl. Carl understands that Mazel can be called the constellations. And there's a higher Mazel, and that is God's providence as it comes into our lives. So when the Talmud is asking, is there or is there not Mazel for Israel? The discussion, is a Talmudic discussion, is called a sugya. You guys familiar with this term, sugya? Yes, no, no, yes, yes, no. We're going to be using that word a lot tonight, so now you're going to know it. A Talmudic discussion is called a sugya, S-U-G-I-A. And in Shabbos, the tractate, when they ask the question, they are not asking, is there or is there not Mazel, even though it looks like that. What they are asking is, granted that we have Mazel, can we change our Mazel? Yes or no? And then all the commentators chime in. In what way are we locked in our Mazel? And we're not talking stars and constellations. We're talking about God's gifts that He gives us. If I am destined to be poor, that's my Mazel. And again, we're not talking fortune or luck. It's what God literally gave gifts to people. Can I become rich if God wants me to be poor? And there's a lot of works, and again, I have an encyclopedia of Mazel. It's called Otzer HaMazel. And it goes into the ins and outs, how one works with their Mazel, interacts with their Mazel, changes their Mazel, goes out from their Mazel. And yes, one of the definitions or aspects of it is this lower Mazel of constellations. So again, that is one example of something in Torah that we all think kind of one thing, and not many people have delved into it on a deeper level. A non-Jew or Noahide keeping Shabbos is another one of those things. I like to round up those things. If you can't notice by my personality by now, I like to find those things that everyone thinks they kind of know it, and then go find the real story, and you find out it's not exactly what you thought or what they say, and we're not saying it's contradicting. How many of you, again, to go on another little bunny trail, in the commentaries, have you ever seen the Ramban or another rabbi commentator say, let's suggest the Ramban and Rashi? Does everyone know Ramban and Rashi? Have you ever seen Ramban say Rashi was wrong? Yeah, it looks like that. Rashi, you are wrong. But the Ramban never said that. That's the only problem. How many of you have a little bit of modern Hebrew? Just a little bit. Have you ever heard an Israeli say, Ata nachon, ata lo nachon? You are right or you are wrong. Right? In Israel, if you say, you want to talk to an Israeli, they may say, Ata nachon, you are right. Ata lo nachon, you are wrong. That is modern Hebrew. Modern Hebrew is a made-up new language from the 19th century. That is a fact. It is largely based on Greek, Arabic, and other languages. It is not a real Hebrew. So when you are learning books and thinking you're getting biblical Hebrew from modern Hebrew, guess what? You aren't. So when the Ramban says to Rashi, Rashi, my friend, you are wrong, and in the biblical Hebrew, we're not speaking contemporary modern Hebrew, Ramban is saying to Rashi, Ata lo nachon. Not that you're wrong, you're not quite there. Just a little deeper. Not ripe. Do you understand the concept? You could have gone a little deeper. There's a big difference between you could have gone a little deeper and you're wrong. And a lot of times, maybe even all the time, is any of us really ever wrong? Really deep down, if you're saying something, you probably mean it. And if you lose the argument, you probably just aren't saying it well enough. And you're just not saying it right. And people like to take advantage and say, you see, you're wrong. You couldn't say what you wanted to say. So Ramban is saying, Rashi, you're saying good, but a little deeper. So here too, with these more superficial understandings of Torah, they're not wrong. There is a mazel that's constellations and stars. But it's lo nachon. You can dig a little deeper, and there's a wealth of this subject littered all throughout the Torah. Through you guys know what Midrash is, like the legends and tales. All through. Mazel is a tremendous subject and study. I recommend that you check it out. So too, can a non-Jew keep Shabbos? Very quickly, everyone in yeshiva will say, we can all say together, and the American shows all rise and say together, a goy who keeps Shabbos is chayav misa. All right, so we all know that road. And again, I'm just not the kind of person to keep parroting what they say. I like to see it inside. I want to see what it says. And David and I were talking in the car, and he asked me, just in a particular context that I'll bring for you here, he asked me, what is my problem with English in terms of Torah? And the answer is, what isn't my problem with English in Torah? All right, so I'm lazy just like you. And in yeshiva, right now we're in Bein Hazmanim, in the break in learning. And about 10 years ago, Ari would have seen me going to the English library where I would catch up on the things that I wasn't on the level to learn in Hebrew. And I'd get very upset because we were being conned. Right? You could tell things were being left out, edited out, not translated right. And it was upsetting. Have you guys had that experience in the English? My favorite is the Art Scroll Ramban. Very clearly, Art Scroll says, and to quote David Klein from Yeshiva, I never argue with Art Scroll. All right, but very clearly, it says we have left out the Kabbalistic blah, blah, blah. Well, the Ramban was a famous Kabbalist, people. And you're saying, that's like getting a Robert Frost book and saying we left out the poetry. So I got a book from the Ramchal on redemption, like something Maimer Gula, it's called in Hebrew, like whatever it was in English, the pathways to Mashiach. And I thought, I'm going to find out all about Mashiach now. I think I can know the whole thing because the Ramchal is going to tell me, my good friend the Ramchal. And I keep getting these ... in every sentence. And it's like, what is that ... He goes, talking about this, and now we're talking about this. And it was very frustrating. And then years later, when I got on the level to understand it in the Ramchal in the Hebrew, I realized this book should not have been only that thin. There was a lot of stuff out of there. And I don't like to throw around words like heretic and things like that because I think it's ridiculous. And in that genre of words is like Chilul Hashem. I'm sorry, but that to me was a shtickle Chilul Hashem. I mean, we were not, he was really leaving out a lot of stuff. Yeah. So say it again. Right, and that's their rationale. Right, so I understand. Right, but the thing was, he was leaving out things that weren't even Kabbalistic. There were things that should have been brought in. And again, I didn't take it so far as like, I'm going to prosecute the guy. It led me to make a decision. Laziness was no longer an option. What's that? No, I'm saying I was lazy. That's right. I was being lazy. Yeah. And so I realized that laziness was no longer an option. And that I had to start getting into the Hebrew if I wanted to know what was going on. Meaning, coming from an American background, obviously, English, my mother tongue, I just want to read a good book. Right? But I realized that this was no longer an option. A lot of things in life, when you grow out of them from methods of laziness and our work habits and our careers, you just grow out of a certain laziness. And for me, wanting to not learn Torah in the original, going to the English was a point in my journey that it became lazy. And it encouraged me, inspired me to get into the deeper Hebrew, and that's what I'm saying now. When we say a non-Jew that keeps Shabbos is chayav misa, liable for the death penalty, my antenna goes up when I hear things like that, right? Because I've been trained to think, what is that really? What is you're saying? It's an English sentence that you said. I want to know what is it in the original. Where was it? How was it? What context? So we go into it's a Rambam, and the Rambam says very clearly, a goy. Some versions say akum, which already begs a big question. What's the difference between goy and akum? If you guys ever heard those terms, that's a big thing in yeshiva also. Sometimes we see goy, sometimes we see akum, sometimes we see nachri, sometimes we see eina Yehudi. Which one is it? What do they mean? And better yet, can we know the difference? Because a lot of times, you'll be under the influence of a teacher who, again, we're not going to prosecute him and call him lazy, but there's going to be a little ... going on. Can we know the difference between goy and akum? It's the censors in Europe. Keep going. Keep reading. Okay, I won't ask any more questions. I'm sorry. So, again, it's not to blame. It's just we don't have to explain the world in every second. But each time we don't get the explanation, we are losing ground. And it's going to accumulate until eventually you hit a place where you say, either I'm going to continue on my own or find a teacher that knows, and I'm going to reclaim what was lost in the ... or I'm going to be a ... guy, and whatever I get, I get. Whatever I don't, I don't. You don't have ... So what do you have? So I like to call what you're describing copy and paste. Meaning, when I see what Rabbi such and such wrote in his Hebrew Sefer, he did not give me ... He said, Erechin 24b, Rabbi Yehuda says ... I'm saying ... but he brought you what was there. And when you see where it was from, without the edit job, you know exactly what it was, how it was, and you get the whole story. And
like a Frigidaire doesn't necessarily have to be a generic word is used. So if you're a scholar enough, then you know what it refers to. And sometimes there are debates about it, but it's not being fussed over. It's a very, very big issue. Talking is a very big issue, and it's taken very seriously.
That's right.
You're almost like you're saying that the Jewish world is like fudging us over. But they don't fudge it over.
No, a lot of times they do. When you go into a shir and you're reading a Stam Gemara and it says Akum and a page.
Sometimes you might not know. This might be debate about it, but it's not that they say, shh, I never was in a shir where I'm supposed to say.
No, you're missing my point. You're missing my point. We're not saying what is the pshat in the Gemara here. What we're saying is in the beginner's Gemara shir, when you ask a little bit of a different question as a beginner, and you say, okay, one word for non-Jew is akum, and another one is goy, what is the difference in the mashmut, in the implications of these terms? Most times you're going to get an either I don't know, or you're going to get a half-baked answer. Do you know the difference between goy and akum? No, it isn't. That is not idolatry. There is not even an idolater alive today. An idolater is a 7 Canaanite nation idolater, very specific. Today, people are Bali Shituf, which is a helper to God. No, it's not even a good question. It's that there aren't, and when the Talmud uses akum, sometimes it may be specific. It is clear. That's what I'm saying. No, this is what I'm trying to tell you. There is a known map of Iker terms, what they mean, how they're used. Sometimes it's general, sometimes it's specific. No, nobody is holding that Shituf is idolatrous. What they are holding is, if I worship Shituf, that turns into idolatry. Something totally different. Christianity is idolatrous. It is not idolatry. But if I start to worship this stender, that will be idolatry. That does not make a stender idolatrous.
Other times that the idolatry is for a non-Jew, looking for that even a non-Jew can worship Shituf. And
that doesn't make.
I don't think that's a settled matter.
What matter?
Matter that's for sure not idolatry.
It is. If somebody turns into idolatry, that's a separate issue from Shituf. And we're not talking about that. The akum is not a term for idolatry, mamish. It's not used. In the Talmud, when you approach an akum, that is not an absolute idolater. In any case, something that becomes idolatrous, that's a question if it exists today or not. But whatever it is or isn't, it does not become on the level of 7 Canaanite nation idolatry. Everybody. Mamish. I have it in my little briefcase here, wherever it is. I can show you. In the name of Rabbi Aaron Soloveitchik and Rabbi Nachum Rabinovich. It's in my book. What you do have is Shituf. Shituf is basically, for example, one example is Trinity. God has agents that help him. So, to answer your question, and this is how everybody holds, Christianity is idolatrous. If I go into a cathedral and bow to a statue, notice, again, English is a limiting language. It's an idolatrous act. Therefore, Christianity, the entity, is idolatrous in nature. I'll give you an example. A bar is a place of znus. Would you agree with that? It's a znusy place. In general, a bar is a znusy place. That doesn't mean that there is illicit behavior going on in every kind of bar. So a Christian is not an idolater. For him to become an idolater, his particular Christian faith would have to be that he mamish worships this pseudo-God on the level of a total replacement with God, what we call God. That is already infringing on idolatry. And the words of the rabbis are that, like Lafib Shuto, that doesn't exist today. Now there are people that are pushing the envelope today and really trying their best to bring it back. So on a rabbinic level, you can say it's idolatry. On a derisa level, that's called putting a peanut butter jelly sandwich in a disk drive and trying to make it work. You have to have wisdom to do idolatry. Now they're trying. They're getting very close. But they're not idolatry. It is idolatrous. Which Tosfos are you referring to? Vashituf? In Sanhedrin. Yeah, and that's the sugi of Shituf, not idolatry. And that we paskin like the Ramah, who says that Shituf is allowed to B'nai Noach today. And there are those that want to say it's not allowed. And Shituf is fundamentally not idolatry. In any way, shape, or form. So, a Christian is allowed to be a Christian, and as long as he's not killing and stealing and he's keeping his 7, he's technically a kosher Noahide. Now, the Noahide organizations today are saying, well, we have a little problem, Houston. We don't want Christian Noahides coming around Jewish enterprises saying, hey, we're Noahides. Right? It's a problem. So, what we call that is, he is a Rasha, a wicked Noahide. You can't be idolatrous and a Noahide in the Jewish flavor of things. Agreed? We have a Christian. He's not doing idolatry, he's doing shituf. That is called wickedness, believing in multiple gods. You're missing my point completely. And you're talking in Judaism. I hope you're not in a shituf if you're a Jew. We're talking Noahides. No, we're not talking Jewish view. We're talking Noahide view. Noahism is not Judaism. Don't confuse the two. A Jew cannot worship shituf. No, a Noahism view on Noahism. They're different worlds altogether. Altogether, a Jew cannot worship in shituf. That is Asur Lagamre. A Noahide is allowed to worship in shituf. We paskin that way. Hold on. In the later Achronim writings, we want kosher Noahides. Would you agree with that? As a hashkafic endeavor. Yeah. We have a synagogue, and I'm going to invite my Noahide friends. But you're going too far. You're going too far. I didn't call them that. The Noahide organizations call them that, and I'm copying and pasting for you. Meaning, have you ever heard of the Hasidei Amos Ha'olam? Is that Christian Hasidei Amos Ha'olam? Is he a Hasid? No. There are, you know what Svei Dinim is? You know what Svei Dinim is? Svei Dinim. 2 views. So there is 2 kinds of Hasidei Amos Ha'olam. The state of Israel says the one definition. For example, a Gentile who saved 100 Jews from dying in the Shoah is called a pious Gentile of the Hasidei Amos Ha'olam. But in the rabbinic sense, in the jargon term, that is not a Hasidei Amos Ha'olam. That is not what the Rambam is talking about in Hilchos Malachim. Okay, so if we're going to talk about Noahides, let's talk about our good friends from the Rambam. And a churchling is not a Hasid. I think we can agree on that as well. He's not a Hasid. So if I'm not a Hasid, what is the 180-degree opposite term you would call that guy? Probably a Rasha, in rabbinic terms. And I don't care if he's a saint in his world. In rabbinic terms, he is the opposite of a chassid or tzaddik. What's that? No, there's a different shita for being in the middle. They call that from their own wise men, says the Rambam. We're talking lefi pshuto in rabbinic terms here. You're trying to bring in ethics and hashkafa into the situation. We're talking rabbinic construct. It's called lefi pshuto. Opinions and hashkafas don't enter the conversation. He may be a lovely guy who helps old women cross the street. Bless his heart. That's not who we're talking about in rabbinic terms. In rabbinic terms, he is the opposite of a pious man. That is called a rasha in the rabbinic writings. I think he's a nice guy. I had him over for dinner once. Ger Toshav. Hold on. We're not there yet.
We continue this back and forth quite
I'm
honestly.
trying to understand.
I understand, but there's a whole group of people who I believe are lost.
Read the book. Here, someone hand him a book. He needs to see the book. Hand him a book, please. Seriously, hand him a book. It's on me.
I want to listen to you. I want to listen to you. I'll keep my mouth shut.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll define. Yeah, he's going to be engaged. Just read the book. By the end of this year, they'll have heard you'll have heard the book, and we'll all come together and say kumbaya. So shituf is. I don't want to define it rabbinically. I want to define it how I like to define it for people. Imagine really. I'm sorry for the give and take, but now we're back. So after these commercial messages, shituf is. Again, we're not talking rabbinically. We're talking hashkafically now. Shituf is really, really sloppy beliefs. Huh? Yeah. Very sloppy beliefs and thinking. So, I'm going to give an answer, but they say Christianity is classic shituf. I believe in God, but I'm just not interested in God. God has helpers, and I like the helpers. I believe and worship the helpers. Did you guys ever get into comedy? Like George Carlin? I'm George Carlin. Sorry about that. He says, I worship Joe Pesci. So that's shituf. Then they say, read the book. So they ask me, is Islam shituf? Because the Rambam says they are monotheistic, and therefore, how could it be if they don't have the Trinity and this and that? So again, we're not talking technically now, okay? But this is how I would give an example of Islamic shituf, which is semi-idolatrous. I wouldn't call it theology, call it behavior. Because remember, we made a distinction between religion, which is idolatrous, and the person who is not an idolater, but he's doing something that could become idolatrous, right? If I do something halfway, and I'm going to fill in the meat on these bones here, right? I'm doing something a little dodgy, I'm into the Trinity, and then I join an evangelical group that takes it a little too far. Now I'm really getting into idolatry. But I didn't have to. Maybe I was a Christian who said, and a lot of these like Messianics today, right? Yeshu is just the Messiah that didn't fulfill his job. And they'll say, but he's got a little bit more divinity than regular men. Or whatever it is. They have their theologies. So that's already shituf. So here I'll explain it in a little bit better way through Islam. Two Muslims were talking one day. This is my traumatization of this. And one Muslim said to another, when Allah comes, He will kill the infidels. And the other one said, yes, when Allah comes, He will kill the infidels. And the other guy said, yes, when Allah comes, Muhammad, his prophet, will be with Allah and they will kill the infidels. That's shituf. You just said some guy was hanging out with God. Can't be. God doesn't hang out with people. People can't hang out with God. I can't become really, really, really spiritual one day and have a beer with God and say, kill the infidels. So this is why Kabbalah in Judaism, and not in kind of any quirky Kabbalah, but just the concept of Jewish mysticism. And Ari knows this for being a Sfat dweller, and that's why we put the picture of Sfat on the book for $18 available on Amazon.com. Kabbalah mandates that you cannot be into shituf. Now, what's interesting, I forget who it was. A couple days ago, someone brought this up to me, and they said, but wait a minute, isn't Kabbalah just by definition shituf? You know, you got like the Father, and you got the Mother, and you got the Son, and you got the Daughter, and it's all kind of God, and God is not 1, 3, He's 10. We have 10 gods. The Sfirot. So when you get through the wisdom of Kabbalah, and there is a way through it, then the blueprint of Kabbalah is there is a God, and He gives sustenance to the world, and that's it. Your job is to learn how to receive from God. Nothing more, nothing less. By definition, God is above you, you are below God, there's no intermediary. We don't pray to the Chesed God, right? Chesed, please give me my stuff, right? We don't do that. It's just God gives to His people. And generally, we'll say His people are Israel, the Jews, right? That's how we understand that. Which is a perfect segue into where we're going, kind of a round way tonight. If Israel is God's people, and Sinai was given to Israel to promote the message of Achdus Hashem, unity of God in the world is the Israelite message. What I find in, let's say if there's two views, or two shittas, kind of like what I'm teaching and what those who shall not be named on the other side of the world are teaching. We won't mention any names. So the question becomes, if we all agree there was a Sinai, a nation of Israel, the Jewish people, even the non-Jews of the world know that kernel is true. No one debates that has any sense of sanity in their mind, right? The question then becomes, what do we do with our Gentile friends? Theologically, practically, Jewishically, halachically, hashkafically, every ikali you can imagine, what is the reality of those people? And that's where I come in. I've looked into it a little bit. So, we can take the discussion many different ways. I can take questions, but I'll just pitch, I think, kind of like where I'm at in my mind with the most current issue, just from what I've seen in writing in other areas. The question of, can a non-Jew become quasi? Can they elevate out of this paradigm of you're either a Gentile, a Goy, Akum, Ana Yudi, Nachri, right? Shitu, friend of ours, right? Are you a non-Jew or a Jew? And to put a little bit of meat on that, you're a non-Jew. And does that mean you're a Christian? Or we could say you're Shituf? All right, I'm going to say Roshayim, based on how the rabbinic literature goes. I like those people. They're fine. They never hurt me. But rabbinically, we'll call them that. I know that bothers you. What can I do? I didn't write the book. They can go away from that, and they can be called of the pious of the Gentiles, according to the Rambam. And that we can call that Noahide. We can call it Ger Toshav. Is there a Ger Toshav today? What is a Ger Toshav? Amazon.com, $18. Is there a Ger Toshav today is a big question. I'm sure you know about that question. Or do I convert? Do I have to convert? Should I convert? Is it good to convert? Is there a place for me if I don't convert? Do I have to be a Jew? Should I be a Jew? So I think now we've kind of gone all around, thanks to everyone's cooperation and participation, that you can probably see what I do, and this is what I do. We talk about this pretty much every day. Just all this. Whatever this is what we do. And you came out tonight for this. So I guess we can probably open up the questions, or I can go on. It's up to you. But this was a nice, long-winded introduction with some great participation from the crowd. This is what we do. Yeah.
So the whole question is really, from your standpoint, from the introduction you've given us,
Yeah.
it's not a Jewish question.
It is. Because the non-Jew, this is not their, they didn't, when I say it's not their Torah, I'm saying they can't just go to Israel and go to yeshiva and look it up. Ross Bearden, who was he? 6, 7 years ago. Right? I mean, look at it in reality. We can dramatize and fantasize all we want. Ross was a goy in Colorado who had no connection with a Jewish anything, no rabbi in sight. He feels in his heart that he wants to keep the Sabbath, whatever that means. And I'll give you a cheat sheet on what that does mean. It does not mean like a Jew. Ross does not want to keep Shabbos like a Jew, has no interest. And what's the litmus test? Hey, Ross, listen, I'm going to sell you on keeping Shabbos like a Jew. And if I catch you taking the corn out of your peas on dinner Friday night, you're chayav misa for bower, my friend. Right? That's not how they want to keep Shabbos. Okay? A Jewish Shabbos is called Gehenim for these people. They don't want that. So the fear of the Gentiles going to take our Shabbos is not true. They're not even interested. It's not happening. So they can't learn the truth. And they need you to learn the truth. But the Jewish people, bless their hearts, have inherited a certain shmear to Judaism. And this is what Ari's interest was having me here tonight. Right? I have a whole set of notes I probably won't get to. But what Ari's issue was, here we are in Gullus. My good friend Russell Kirk says we're in Torah B. Torah B is what I call the party line. And that's the whole, a goy that learns Torah is chayav misa. Now, to really dramatize how wrong Torah B is, are we going to kill these Gentiles for learning Torah? Number one. Do we take them out back and execute them? Everybody says that it is a hands of heaven penalty, and it's not in our hands to do. So already, if you're thinking about taking out your samurai sword and living out some fantasy of ISIS for him learning the Humash, right, that's not going to happen. Not today, and not in the days of the Beis HaMikdash. So that begs the question. If the Torah is written in a very suggestive way, and it's suggestive, and I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying we have not gone to yeshiva enough to get comfortable and familiar with the words of the sages that we can have a little bit of understanding of what's going on. And that was my point about the terms. Too many times there's a light little relationship in Torah and Torah terminology. It's just not serious enough. Am I saying it's never serious? No, I did not say that. I'm saying it's not serious enough in too many sectors. Too many people stop early and are intimidated early, don't have the merit early. It's just a mazel problem. Mazel used in the appropriate context. So we have to really get into learning more and help not only them, but ourselves. Too many Jewish people don't know what's going on. And we're stuck in what we're calling Torah B. Whether or not, this is like a controversial point, but I'll bring it up. Right, kitniot on Passover. Everyone knows what kitniot are? There's certain kinds of beans that we say we don't eat, Ashkenazim, because of a lot of different halachic reasons. But then our Moroccan friends are eating, actually they're not, the other types of Sephardim, they are eating those things on Passover. So in Israel, you have all these little fights, but how come my Persian friend gets to eat good and I don't? I'm going to marry a Persian. So you have these little things going on. But what's bothersome is that no one knows what the real issues are. No one knows, am I going to Gehenna if I eat kidneys? Should I want to eat kidneys? Am I guilty for wanting to eat kidneys? Is that what Passover is? So, too many things we just don't know. But the scholarship is there. The wealth of knowledge is there. But there's a lack of infrastructure in disseminating a higher consciousness of Torah Judaism. We just accept a certain exile mentality. And where I'm against, let's say, other people that are more thinking like me, let's say, a lot of people want to say, well, let's just change the system. We're eating kidneys this year on Passover. Let's go changing Judaism. And then the Haredim will say, what are you? You're not religious at all. You're a faker. So that's not me. I'm more into saying, again, how we started this little discussion. Can we go look up the Rambam? Can we make it cool? and in style to look up the source and get into it and make learning interesting and not make it like, well, you didn't go to yeshiva, so you have to be on the outs and I'm the big rabbi. It's not that hard to learn this stuff. It really isn't. And so what I do, and I have a website, I guess I'll promote that now too. I have a new website, thank God, that got launched. Get, G-E-T, Soul Strong, SOULSTRONG.com, where I teach live classes online, have a forum for these kind of discussions. And the theme is to get people like you, people like our non-Jewish friends that are kosher, have rejected Christianity, Islam, and have entered into kosher Noahism, and are looking for the next step, which is Ger Toshav in Noahism, to where everything's kosher and ready to go to the next level. And the good news about it is we don't have to make up a new Judaism. We don't have to lie. We don't have to bend rules. Judaism is amazing. That's so cliche, isn't it? Judaism is amazing. But it really is. It's just, it's not amazing the way that it's being sold to you. Too many times we want to say, just go out in the field and talk to God and do a little dance and hop on one foot and do these spiritual crafts and go learn Kabbalah. Okay, I mean, obviously there is classic spirituality. But there's, I'll give you a good mashal, a good example. You'll like this one. This is for you. My Rosh Yeshiva, who Ari knows well, I went to stay by his Rosh Yeshiva's son in Bayit Vagan. And our dorm counselor, the rabbi's son, Avram Shimon Weingot, so he was me and Ari and Avshi were next door neighbors in the dorm for a couple of years at least. And I went to go see my Rosh Yeshiva's son in Bayit Vagan. And he says, have you seen Avram Shimon? I said, yeah, I've seen Avram Shimon. He says, has he learned Taisus? Yeah, he's learned Taisus, yeah. So for him, it was spiritual to learn very halachic, Talmudic literature. And where the yeshiva that I come from, that was bestowed on us as spiritual. That real learning and real rabbinic literature can also be a spiritual high, if you want to call it that. It doesn't have to be legalistic and dry and boring. And what I think I've done in bringing this whole Ger Toshav message out is this is what I was going. Is too many times the language of Akum and Goy, they're not even interested in hearing about it. It's just not interesting. And and we are so intimidated to think that the subtle distinctions are beyond us that we quit, give up, move on, never really got the basics down, and then it becomes in the back of our mind a myth, and then when we hear it in a lecture like this, we're just attuned to tuning it out, and that's not me, and I missed my chance, and I'm not good enough. And then there's an elite level of learning, and what I'm here to say, and it's a hard message, it is, and I tell this one of my students in South Africa, if this is the kind of thing that resonates, or if it doesn't resonate but you want it to resonate, or maybe it could resonate, it's like a 3 easy payments of 6 months of learning in this way, and I've seen it happen, can get the cobwebs out and get you back where you got to be. There's no shortcuts, but it's never too late either. And a lot of times we feel like we missed our time. I didn't go to yeshiva. I'm old now. I got work, kids. I'm up to my ears in problems. But if you just start being conscious of this kind of learning and these kind of awarenesses and allow yourself to confront it, this week's parsha, you are going to read in chapter 14, verse 21, that when there's a treif piece of meat, you all know what treif meat is. You give it to the ger in your gates, or you can sell it to the nachri. And so now I will ask you. Now you're going to know which is which. So now, Lamaisa, who is the ger in your gates, and who and what is a nachri? And if there's an Ishmaelite in front of me who's halachically an akum, but halachically not an idolater, do I give it to him or my nachri friend who may be a Christian, who's a suffix if he's an actual idolater in church or not, but I don't know enough about evangelical Christianity to know. So who do I give it to? I'll leave on that cliffhanger so we can get ready for Mincha, and we'll think about that thought. We'll come back. And I hope this was a good introduction. Yeah, nay, yay, nay. All right, so we'll stop our recorder. We'll leave it at that, and we'll come back. Start. Go ahead. Repeat that, yeah. I know, but I need it.
In the time of the First Commonwealth, where Moshe indicated, when the Moses text indicates that the trade fee may be sold to the Nafri or given to the Geri Toshav to the Geri Gate.
Yeah.
My question I'm submitting to you is a little bit, I don't mean to throw you a curveball, sir, but is it possible that the trade fee be given to the Geri Toshav at the gate? Is it possible that that was kind of like a franchise business that was given to the Geri Toshav at the gate so that the Geri Toshav would have an income to sell that trade fee to the Nafri Aqua Reserve?
It sounds like you're asking me, is the Torah rational?
Well, the Bill of Gaon, you just said that the first Commonwealth.
Right, but I'm saying, you're asking, is there a practical reality to the Torah? Is it just like Michael and Gabriel came and said, like, oh, here's the meat to the, Was it like that, or is it like, here, Moshe, take the meat and sell it? And it was probably practical. But the way you rephrased your question a little bit, it sounded like you were going at first, how do you resolve taking on all the mitzvahs and include the idea of eating treif meat? Right, so in Avodah Zarah 64b, the classic copy and paste source, who is a ger toshav? 3 opinions, and they are not arguing. They are 3 dargas, 3 levels, 3 distinctions that satisfy different issues. The first one who does not serve idols. That is our non-Shitu friend ger toshav. The second one is the Noahide, 7 laws. Some say you have to reject Shituf and keep the 7 laws. Some say the 7 laws get you sustenance from Israel. Some say that comes from just rejecting Shituf. We're not sure rabbinically exactly what merit comes from each of these levels, but that's not the issue. Because we're not, again, lowest common denominator. We're not trying to say what gifts are being bestowed. We're trying to say what is the minimal level necessary to advance in our serving of God. So the third opinion in that Gemara is a ger toshav can do any of all of the mitzvahs except for eat nevela. So already, and that's in the Gemara itself, they can take on at the time of their Kabbalah all of the mitzvahs except for eating nevela. That is supported, for those that want further looking it up, Mishnah Berurah 304, Bior Halacha by the Chavetz Chaim, who brings that source as the proof of a non-Jew at the time of their accepting the 7 laws can accept more mitzvahs. It's a question amongst the poskim how that comes out lamaisa. That's why I don't necessarily like to tackle it, because it's not my job to poskin for people, but to show just what the options are. Rabbi Zevlev wrote that in his approbation of my book, that these things are for awareness and educational. It's between the student and the rabbi to ascertain what that looks like in real time. There's another shita, another level, called the ger tzedek non-Jew, which a lot of people have never heard of. So an Eved Kanani, a Canaanite servant, is a ger tzedek non-Jew. Most people know ger tzedek to be a convert. What is pretty much the standard definition of ger tzedek without going into colloquial convert? Someone who has accepted the mitzvahs, which is different than someone who has accepted 7 mitzvahs. The non-Jew can, as we know in Avodah Zarah, take on all the mitzvahs outside of nevela, the treif meat. They can even give up treif meat, take on all 613, and they are not Jewish. There's something, this is where it gets very difficult. It's more of a theoretical category. It's not something done today. It's not encouraged to be done today. Maybe it's what the Vilna Gaon was talking about at the time of the temple. And there's a lot of things that were done at the time of the temple that we don't do today. But what that would look like in the medieval rabbis that wrote about this, they call this character Israel Gomor. He is Israelified. And he is the opposite of Ezrach, native. In other words, he cannot marry a Jewess. And there are 4 houses of Israel. This is brought in Deuteronomy 23:3. There are 4 houses of Israel. This is not some evangelical thing. It's actually our Torah. And there are 3 holy houses. Cohen, Levi, Israel. And those are the holy houses of Israel. If you are a Cohen, Levi, or Israel, you are holy. And we're not talking about your soul and the level. It means you can engage in Jewish marriage, produce a Jewish child, and continue a Jewish heritage. Gerim, and we're not talking converts, Gerim are in the 4th non-holy house of Israel, halachically. It is a halachic reality. The Tractate Kedushin talks about it. So does the Sifri. It's a known thing, and the Gerim are called the non-holy house. This is to address your question, who they marry. They are biblically meant to marry amongst each other. I'm going to address your question. They cannot marry a Jew or into the holy house. But a convert can choose to be a ger and enter into the 3rd holy house, the Israelite house. In other words, I converted and I want to marry a Jew and have a Jewish child. So I became a ger. I decided to marry Jewish. I am Jewish. I married. I had a child. I am now a full-blown Israelite, holy, producing a holy child. And then there are those that say, but there's a difference between the convert and the Israelite. So they're still Gerim, and they're not really like Ezrach native. That's not true. There are certain things a convert cannot do. But one of the things that they'll bring up in terms of holiness, and that's what we're talking about, is holy issues. We see that a Cohen cannot marry a convert, so a convert's not a real Jew. Only it's not the convert's problem, it's a Cohen problem. A Cohen can't marry a divorcee, and last time I checked, a Jewish divorcee is still Jewish. So it's not the divorcee's problem, it's the Cohen's problem. So a convert has issues that are not their own, but it's the other 3 holy houses' own issues. So a convert may be a special Israelite, but they are an Israelite nonetheless, and a ger can choose to remain a non-holy house ger. In other words, they can marry Gerim, non-Jewish, non-convert, basically Noahides. And once upon a time, the mamzer was to marry a ger in the non-holy house, and through a rabbinic loophole in halacha, today a convert can marry a mamzer. It's not the most popular thing in the world, but biblically, that was the job of the non-convert, non-Jewish ger. And he walked out just when I was going to give him his message. Anyways. Any questions? Yeah.
Kind of the Noahides currently going on. Lots of people being interested in it. Do you think there's a fulfillment of the 2 steps prophecy?
No. I'll say it loud, yeah? Is today's Noahide movement a fulfillment of Ezekiel's prophecy of the 2 sticks? The house of Judah, the house of, of Ephraim or Benjamin, whatever it is, and Joseph, yeah. So, no. And the Lost Tribe movement and Ephraimites and Hebrew roots and all of our friends are trying to say, hey, we're living in really prophetic times. We must be really prophetic people. No, these are people that just made that up, and it's not true. Noahide is a made-up thing, and it does not exist in sources. So this is my problem with Noahide. all of their doctrines are made up. For example, there is no Ger Toshav today, but there is. They make these sweeping claims that don't exist. Now, what is the northern kingdom, southern kingdoms, two sticks? On one hand, I don't know. On the other hand, when you look in all of these prophecies, for example, in the future I will make the nations speak a clear tongue. You've heard that one. Sonia 3:9. So the commentaries there say, the whole world will be united Gerim. So where people are trying to find the Noahide in prophecy, 9 times out of 10, the original is called Ger, and we're not talking convert Ger. So it's a matter of clarifying, Noahides are really Gerim, not non-convert, non-Jewish Gerim, but they're in a construct that denies the term, and they don't know why they deny the term. For example, they say there's no Ger Toshav today, when there is. Why they're so bent on denying it? A lot of reasons. Political, bad learning, agenda, not interested, hashkafically not interesting. You can have a million reasons. But my message is that in the sources you will find the word ger or gerim every time, or almost every time. But you certainly won't find an English American word in Hebrew sources. Now, to answer your question, Mark, is it right? Wait, I forget what I was going to say about that. He was trying to say that. No, that's what I'm going to say. If we have a dead end, that we have no marriage for them, and congregation, and fellowship, and all of these things. But just before you walked out, we were saying that they are to marry themselves, amongst themselves.
That's theoretically great.
Yes.
I've got somebody who lives in Yerimsveld there.
Right.
I got somebody who lives in Yerimsveld, upstate New York.
Right.
Granted, it's a lot easier with the internet nowadays. However, it's still, if there's a crisis in terms of shidduchim for Yidden,
Yeah.
in other words, trying to find somebody Jewish to marry,
Right.
how much more so is it in the world of B'nai Noah?
Right. So the question is, do we have a Emunah B'tachon that the Torah has the path in it, and we need to bring that into fruition, or we fudge halacha and say, like for example, the Russian crisis in Israel. Right? I don't know the ins and outs. I'm not into the conversion thing. Hold on one second. So that's where you're coming from, right? So they want to say, convert the Russians. Am I right? Convert them because so I get this right. I've heard it through the grapevine. If I fudge a couple facts, pardon me. All right? I don't claim to be an expert in this. The Russians came over. They had like one grandparent that was Jewish, but it was not the Jewish agent that made them Jewish. They're intermarrying, and their kids are non-Jews, and then they're going to marry Jews and Israelis, and it's going to create a intermarriage where they're non-Jews. So if we convert them, this is where it gets fuzzy for me, I guess, when they're young or whatever, get them Jewish and worry about them doing mitzvahs later, we will save Am Yisrael in Israel because it'll prevent intermarriage and we'll make them Jewish and we'll sing our Kumbaya.
That was down the road.
Yeah.
The initial problem or reason to bring in Russians was to get them out of Russia.
Right.
Because in a lot of cases you had a clearly Jewish partner and a clearly non-Jewish partner.
Right.
And paraphrasing from the 60s, Russia is not a healthy place for Jews and other beings. So the objective was to get them out of Russia.
Right.
And of course it created a problem because the one partner or the other partner, so initially he has to have. But that's what initially, that part that was discussed about convert them home early and so forth, that's down the road. So that's the later on.
Okay. So Rabbi Riskin in Israel is suggesting easier conversions. They call it Zera Yisrael, a reason to not exasperate. What's that word? You make something faster. No, that's when you wear something out. So no, expedite. Expedite. Thank you. Expedite the conversion process. Zer Yisrael, and I just got done getting into this about a couple weeks before I came here to America. Zer Yisrael is a sefer that I may be reading on the airplane home, depending on if I get another PDF file in time. Zer Yisrael is a new halachic category. I spoke to the author of the book. It is a new category. If you have a father who is a bona fide Jew and his wife is vadai not Jewish, they had a child, that child logically will feel Jewish, right? We want to convert him and expedite his process, and we don't kick him out 3 times and make him do the song and dance. We say, hurry up and get your conversion papers. That's called Zera Yisrael, and it's very specific, and they want to implement that on a more grandiose scale to make conversions more accessible to people. At this point, it only is even relevant to if you have a Jewish father. They're trying to expand it to all these lost tribers, like in Afghanistan, that they claim lost tribes. They want to say, hey, we're really with Israel. We want to come in, and we want to convert. Okay. So it's a new trend. It's a new halacha. And I spoke to the author of the Sefer. It's based on an opinion from the Rishonim, but as they're using it today, it's not exactly as it was, and they're trying to create a scenario in Israel where the chief rabbinate is making conversion a living nightmare. He wrote a blacklist. Actually, it's kind of funny. I don't know why this rabbi was on the list. Rabbi Steindel of Pittsburgh was in Pittsburgh, bar mitzvahed my brothers. A conservative rabbi was on the list. Why you would even think that would be a kosher conversion, I don't know, but he was on the blacklist. But there was a large blacklist, and it's actually funny. Rabbi David Lau, the chief rabbi of Israel, was down the street from him. David and his minion. So it's kind of like... Right, it's a questionable blacklist. It was published. There was something published. Whether what that was is something different. Right. I know, but to say something was published. The point is that there is a war going on between the chief rabbinate of an empirical view of conversions and an opposition fiercely led by people like Rabbi, what's his name, Shlomo Riskin? Right, so Rabbi Riskin, again, I'm not an expert totally on this, but Rabbi Riskin wants more small bate dinim to make conversions more accessible and all those other words we were trying to say. The chief rabbinate wants it very strong and empirical their way. And so I have a friend of mine who looks out for all these articles on this in the J-Post. The J-Post likes to serve as a little arena for all of this. And where I draw my line, I guess, is that when they, and I agree that it would solve a lot of things, but where I guess where I'm a little different is when they try to prove to the Haredim their views in halacha. What's that? Right. So that's when I find that the sources become a little skewed. For example, I don't know if it's mazel or by accident, but whenever we get into these tight arenas about proselytizing and conversion and ger and ger toshav and noahides, the same, imagine there's a lot of sources. And then once we start really hashing these things out, we'll start to see and realize it's the same pool of verses and rishonim and sources, and that's where I take issue, is because unfortunately not everyone's learning it exactly right. And I've seen Rabbi Riskin's writings. He'll take ger sources and psukim, and he'll give a little and and then it gets a little bit off skew. So from my point of view, I do agree that what I'm saying is not overtly practical. As you're saying, we call it theoretical. But I'm saying that's not my business to make things practical and easy. I'll give you another side move and another mushal. There's a fierce debate also in the Temple Mount. The Temple Institute, who's very passionate about the temple. How many of you are aware of the Temple Institute, first of all? Here's a trick question. Which temple, if they could build a temple tomorrow, I just donated $1 trillion to Rabbi Ario Israel. Did you know that? Like just now, I donated $1 trillion. And I made a deal with the Waqf, I think it's a Waqf, that they're going to back down. And they said, David Katz, go for it, man. We're going to do the temple. And I called my good friends at the Temple Institute. This just happened 5 minutes ago, I'm telling you. So we did this little deal. Now you tell me, what happens next? No, seriously, what would happen next? Chaim Richmond's dream came true. What happens next? Tachlis, practical, what happened? Okay, to build what?
They don't know.
They do know.
Well, okay.
They do know. Now, you're going to donate your $20. They're going to say, hey, we're building a temple, everybody. And you're saying, hey, that's cool. I'm into that. Take my $20. And they're saying, you're married. You're going to be in the temple. Did you know you just paid $20 for Herod's temple? They want to build Herod's temple. It's like, huh? You're buying Herod's temple. They're going around to all these communities, churches too. We won't talk about that. Give me your $20. We're building the temple. Herod's temple is coming back. I don't want Herod's temple coming back. That's what I thought. But if you tell that to those guys, they'll call you a heretic. They will literally call you a heretic for believing this narishkeit that the temple will come down built. Now, there's a lot of views on this, and I am from Sfat, the Holy City, as Ari will tell you. And there are very interesting Kabbalistic views to understand exactly what that means, coming built from heaven. Okay? It's a deep matter. The Ramchal wrote a brilliant sefer on it, and Rabbi Greenbaum translated it. It's a very interesting work called Mishknei Elyon in Hebrew. Now, for the sake of discussion, remember, we talk lowest common denominator, and we're not trying to change too many things. So let's throw you a bone and do the Torah B. The temple comes from heaven, okay? We're not trying to make third grade here, but it's just for the sake of argument. Third temple from heaven. What they're trying to build is Herod's temple. No joke. And if you tell them that you believe in anything other than that, they will literally call you a heretic. So, my point is that I know there are practical solutions. Do you know my good friend Rivka Adler? So she's a very good friend of mine. And so she's writing a new book. Yeah, and I wrote my piece for the book. And what I called my piece was a couple ways of saying it. I got to think of that. Godless problems require geula solutions. Right? We have godless problems, and they require. Yeah. We have exile neuroses, and we require redemption, Mashiach solutions. I'll tell you one of the biggest ones that I suffer from myself. I'm a Cohen. I'm a priest. And unfortunately, I'm a widower. My wife passed away, and I have 2 small kids. Right? I'm dating. And I'm 39 years old. So my stock pool is like 99% single, never been married crowd. Good luck finding this single, never been married who understands your plight and your 2 children. And I'm searching for the obituaries for my widow. Right? Unfortunately, right? So I'm looking for my widow, which is a morbid thing, right? And I've gone out with a couple widows that we've talked about, right? It didn't always work out so well. So I suffer from gullus problems that require geula scenarios. Why? Because after my wife was nifter, I did check out if I am indeed a Cohen, and I thought I lost my chazaka. I thought that I'm not a valid Cohen, because there is an idea that because my grandfather was not fear of heaven, that he lost the passage, and I'm actually not a Cohen. So I dated some divorcees, and I thought I found my solution. And then I found out talking to my uncle, who I just saw a couple days ago, to finish this whole, tour that I'm on. And it turns out that my uncle, when I was a kid, told me we grew up conservative, and there's your lack of fear of heaven. But he didn't tell me that before his father died, they lived in the frum part of town with Rabbi Klein, and they all duchen with Rabbi Klein. We do have the chazaka, I am a kohen. So I am not dating divorcees now. Right? So in that time that I investigated the real McCoy to the story, it turns out that the whole Cohen can't marry a certain type of female who, for the sake of sneas in this discussion, had an interesting life. Okay, she did things that aren't so kosher. We are machmir on her. We are stringently viewing her. Suffice it to say, if she did not have relations, sorry about the whatever, but with a 7 Canaanite nation idolater, she's not illegal. Now that's biblical. And I'm not suggesting we're going out and practicing it. But that's biblical. The alternative is somebody who's from Beis Yaakov and basically was not a Bol Tshuva. Bol Tshuva women had a life. So the halacha is very strict, and it doesn't have to be that strict, according to biblical truth. Now, again, we have galus problems that require geula answers, and this little mushal that I created can exist in many, many areas. How far biblically do we have to go or should go? And how much do we compromise exile Judaism as a consequence? And what is the balance in between? Can we eat kitnius on Passover? Would it bring achdus if we got rid of the law to not eat kitnius? A lot of people, not me, okay, but they want to have 2 wives. And then that whole question gets brought up in certain circles. Then you say, that's disgusting. And you say, well, what about if your wife, God forbid, became an invalid? Right? And then there's a reason medically. So all these discussions come about. Some are offensive, some are controversial, some are practical, some are impractical. The question becomes, when can we go biblical to solve our exile condition? So where I come into this is, in terms of the Jew and non-Jew, the easy answer would be to make conversion easy, Zer Yisrael, and promote proselytizing, but it steps on the toes of an immeasurable wealth of literature of the Gerim, in the Torah, in the rabbinic writings, all the way up to modern state of Israel. So yes, it is a much more practical solution to do more radical maneuvers, and it solves a lot of issues. Or do we hold out in the Torah and try to create a whole new infrastructure and construct to work on? And I think, is that a safe way to explain the situation? So my point of view is, ride the Torah to its fullest and let HaKadosh Baruch Hu move some pieces in the world. Or do we, how would you describe it? I don't want to put words in your mouth. Okay, so I didn't have to say it. But do we take matters into our own hands? I feel we don't have to. I think the Torah has the answers in there. I know that I'm not going to break Rabbi Lau's will. I sit next to him davening every week, and I don't think we have to. I understand the point of view to take matters, but how do you rationalize the Masorah itself and going against what the Torah teaches? Yeah.
First of all, we don't disagree.
Okay, that was easy.
I'm not a big fan of the definition. I fully understand.
Well, in terms of Geras.
In terms of Geras?
Yeah.
What do we do?
No, I'm saying to the Russian crisis. For example, that's where Rivka brought me. We have a common friend, Rivka Adler, wonderful person, who's really, she should be here in terms of what I'm talking about. This is like her world. She is interviewing a lot of people in the field, and this is a field, and she's having them contribute pieces for a new book coming out. And again, my contribution to that book is what I said. Again, to say it in Hebrew, Galus problems require Geula solutions.
What was your question?
I'm saying it right now. So what Rivka and I were talking about in specific was the Russian issue. It is easier, again, without getting into the specifics and politics of it, so I'm not speaking accurately here, just to blanket say, convert the Russians, I'm not trying to be specific, versus doing it the Rabbi Katz Gerim way and riding the Torah wisdom, attempting to change the world even metaphysically through adhering to Torah wisdom.
So my answer is I don't know enough about your Gerim
Yeah,
to really give you a proper answer.
right, most don't. That's
I am not a big fan of quick let's convert the Russians.
right,
I'm not a big fan of quick let's convert anybody.
right,
Right? All I said at the beginning was I see they know us as a dead end.
right,
As such, I don't see that as something that's healthy.
right.
So what are
So,
the
so that begs the question.
So what are the alternatives? I do believe that there is a valid history of Jewish proselytizing. Clearly have a path to conversion, a valid path to conversion within Judaism today.
Yeah.
And I think those are the things that we need to consider.
Right. So, two things. Yeah? How many people, not in an ideal setting, but in reality here, not in what we should do, but what is happening. How many people make it through Beis Din that want to convert? That's right. And that's where I come in. And this is confirmed, 100%. Yeah, they're good people. I mean, the difference is, and I think you can agree with this.
No, let me stop you right there.
What?
The people that
What?
I have,
Wait a second. Hold on. Wait. I have to be able to do my impression. I'm doing an impression here. So there's two kinds of people going through Beis Din. You'll find it funny, I promise. Money back if not. There's two kinds of people that are going to go through Beis Din. I'm dramatizing. I'm not right. So the one guy's they're going to say the panel of judges. They're going to say that exactly. No, and he's going to say the Torah says in Tosfos and Yavamis that we should all eat bagels and lox because Rabbi Abba in the Gemara said, okay, you're a Jew. Move on. And they convert him. More or less. And the other guy comes from Chattanooga, Tennessee. And he's wearing his cowboy hat and black jacket and cowboy boots. And he says, I'm Jewish in my heart. I connect to the people of Israel. And I believe I am a lost Jew. And I am reclaiming my territory. They will say, John, Yashakoyach, Mamish, you're doing great, but just learn a little more. In about 6 months, come back. God willing, don't worry. So that guy is just a little too often, and the other guy is a little too Hamish, and that combination makes it very hard to convert. And there's a lot of politics with Bati Dinner, but my portion of that is, and this is a true story here. You'll like this, true story. There's a rabbi who shall not be named, and he is the head of global conversions in the Anglo community. If you know who that is. I don't know if you know who that is. And I called him, right? Because again, lowest common denominator. That's how I work. If it's lowest common denominator, then we're doing it. And I asked him, how many people make it through Beis Din, which I already knew the answer, right? But I wanted to confirm it, and he confirmed. It's confirmed. All right, good. Well, what do you do with those people, those like 80-some or more percent that don't go through Beis Din? He's like eating his apple in the background. You know, what do I care about the insincere goyim? Oh, shkoyach. Wow, all right. That's a nice answer. Did you ever think maybe providing an alternative? No. You know, what do I care about insincere goyim? So I say, and that's why I really had nothing to argue with. I mean, I'm not going to argue that. But in my head, and whatever I said in reality, what I would say is, hello, you're going to throw those people out back to Christianity. They're not going to go there anyways. They don't want to be Noahide. They're beyond Noahide. They were keeping Shabbos but pulling a hair out of their head yesterday. and then make it through Beis Din. They're going to give up because it's too hard. What do you do with them? And the answer is they're insincere going, what do I care? So what I'm saying is, those people in the reality are stuck. And the Torah has an answer for them. Ger Toshov. What's that? $18, people. Come on. Chai. Now, can we lower that percentage down? Is that what we're trying to say? Can we get it down to like 70% success? Is that what you want to say? 80%? I'm Jewish. I'm Jewish. I was a goy yesterday, and today I'm a Jew. Is that what we want to do? No, is that what you're proposing? I go to Beis Din, I'm Jewish in my heart, I have my cowboy hat on, and I am now a Jew. What? So I'm asking, what are we proposing?
If I were not Jewish and I went to a rabbi and I said, I want to be Jewish.
Yeah.
But I'm a real slow learner. Isn't it on his head if he says, okay, you're ready, and I'm going to take you to a Beis Din, and you're going to be able to convert.
Yeah.
You're going to be a Jew. Oh, by the way, every time you transgress, it's on your head. It's on my head, too.
No, we have classes, $500 a month, and it'll take 5 years, and it's okay.
Okay.
So what's the proposition? What's the better alternative?
What's the better alternative?
To reality, David Lau is in Israel right now, and we are in a predicament that everyone's complaining about. It's universal. It's on J-Post. You can read the articles. Right? We have a numerous amount of non-Jews being rejected from Beis Din, and people are saying, can't you make it a little easier and make it easier? Let these people through. Let my people go.
So today, the alternative is there is no alternative.
Right. And we're looking for, that's reality. Right.
That's the reality.
Unless you
I do
buy,
not believe, I'm sorry.
unless you buy my book for $18. Amazon.
I don't buy Rabbi Riskin's alternative.
Neither do I.
Make things easier.
Right.
You know, I have my other problems with Rabbi Riskin, but that's
Yeah.
a whole other place.
Yeah.
The person who said, you know, they're who cares, I don't think is the answer.
But
I think that from a Jewish perspective, working with people like that, and I think I've run into one or two of them now and then, but working with people like that, I think that there may be a place that does not currently exist, that I'm not, and again, because I haven't spent the $18 in.
you will.
Again, I'll ask what's the professional discount, but you know, I think there are the Jewish community has come through a long and painful process
Right.
over the past 2,000 years.
Right.
We have not yet adjusted
Right.
to what is going on in the world today,
Yeah, exactly.
which is what Rivka and I have been discussing.
Right.
And as such, I think that we in the Jewish community have a lot to learn about what's going on in the world today. And I'm trying to understand a lot of that right now. And I don't have an answer, but you know, for some of these people, conversion is an answer.
100%.
For most of these people, it is not the answer.
Ah, that's
Never
right.
will be the
That's right.
But to say, you know, I forget what the rabbi said.
Yeah.
I don't buy that.
No, but that's the thing. Conversion is
Another place.
100% the answer for those that need to convert. And they should not be kicked out and all these things. A person that really wants to be Jewish should they should be allowed to become Jewish.
Yeah, but I think that at the same time, people who come forward, again, I've run into one or two now and then, who say, you know, I really want to be Jewish. You know, I feel in my heart and so forth and so on. And the process of conversion is designed, and you mentioned it, you know, it's on your head, it's on my head. You know, and I think that's an important concept that the person who comes forward and says, I really want to be Jewish, doesn't understand.
Right.
And I think a lot of the people in the Jewish community don't understand
Right.
either. And I think that that is an important part
Right.
of the whole picture.
I think you're missing a big chiddush here.
Lay it on.
For $18 on Amazon.com, you can read all about
I walked
the
right into that.
the Ger Toshov of today, and he's Jewish in his heart. But seriously, no.
We call those cardiac Jews.
Right. So seriously, there are a lot of people, and I'm speaking very generally. Okay, a lot of people that should be Jewish, would be Jewish, could be Jewish, and they should be very healthy and happy in their gefilte fish and matzah ball soup. Mamish, they should eat it till it comes out of their ears. But there are some people that are not Jewish, don't want to be Jewish, fundamentally are not Jewish. And I work with these people globally. He'll get the recording and the book on Amazon, don't worry. You gotta, let's give some dramatizations of who these people are. Okay, we have Marge and Dawn, and they live in Idaho, and they're Jewish in their heart, and so they bought my book on Amazon, and they're not converting. Okay, they're not moving to the nearest community because it's always the same story. There's a kabod house 300 miles away, and they do drive. Boy, every Saturday morning they are driving to their kabod house. And they're going to Rabbi Goldstein, and they're learning the Parshat of the week, and they're doing this, and it's exhausting. Exhausting. And Marge is a little more Jewish than Dawn, or Dawn's a little more Jewish than Marge. And the rabbi has never heard of this. He comes from Crown Heights, and he has no clue. He just knows that Dawn is a little too Jewish and probably should be Jewish, and we got to get him to convert. Okay, more or less. So the only alternative is, because he doesn't understand, the rabbi, this quasi-unicorn, or as we call them, the giraffes, that he's looking at. Okay? He does not know what this is. He never saw a Gentile that knew more Torah than everybody else in the Shir, and was more Jewish than everyone in the shul, and kept the feasts, and did the festivals, and knew all the things. He's saying, what is this? Okay? And what he doesn't realize is that program has been going on around the globe, probably since Adam, but at least in today's world, it's everywhere, and I deal with these people, it's what I do for a living. Not money-wise, I'm just saying what I do. How are they going to convert? Now, one of them, I promise you, doesn't even want to convert and will not convert. And the rabbi, bless his heart, he will start to put pressure on something. It's going to look to be, if you want to convert, let's say they live in Idaho, okay, and there's a little shtetl in Wyoming. You know, and he's going to say, can't you guys move to Wyoming? Well, we got the horse ranch, and we've got to sell the horse ranch. And Don, you know, has got his hurt back, and he can't walk too well. And the rabbi's like, hey, just get him a brace and let him walk, and let him get off his tuchus and do something. Right? It's like, Rabbi, really? Right? So it works that way, and it's something like that or similar. We got to get divorced, move to Brooklyn, go to Crown Heights, go to Israel. And these outrageous solutions, when the only reason why he's being told to convert is because you're an option. Be a goy, Noahide, or be a Jew and convert. He doesn't know. He just wants to keep the Shabbos. Goy to keep Shabbos is Chayav Misa. Only he's not. Because there's a non-Jewish Shabbos. Creases 9a. And he breaks Shabbos one of three ways. Amazon.com, I'm telling you. It's all in there. So, it could be. There's a million reasons why not to convert. There's a million reasons of why one feels they should convert. But again, we're dealing with reality. Tachlis, are you going to convert or not? So unfortunately, in the circles that we work in, they've invented, in my opinion, a ridiculous new category. I hope you agree with this. I'm thinking about converting. It's a new category. Which one are you? I'm thinking about converting. And they literally sit in this holding cell watching Rabbi Mizrahi videos on YouTube as they are thinking about converting. Okay, and this will go on, if we don't stop it, until the Mashiach comes. Maybe we should just keep doing it. Mashiach will come. But Conversion is an answer for those that it is an answer to. And I do agree that Rabbi Lau, as his close neighbor in Modin, should chill out a little bit and make it a little bit easier, and don't make it so political, because it's way too political. But at the same time, a lot of people are just not built for conversion. They don't want to be Jewish. And again, I can't speak for them. One spouse doesn't want to be, we're not going to tell people to get divorced. They don't want, one of them won't keep kosher. I mean, has everyone in this room done tshuva a little bit, some way, shape, form? Right? I made Aliyah for one reason. One reason. I was doing tshuva in Cleveland, and I know what's going to happen. I'm a night owl. I stay up at night reading. I'm going to do a Taco Bell run at 3 in the morning. It's going to happen. It's just going to happen. And there goes my tshuva, and it's going to keep happening. So by the time I got so involved, I said, I got to get to Israel so I can at least eat bamba. Right, from the Vakola at 3 in the morning, which we've all been there too. Ari and I have done that a couple times. But that was a big reason for me. But honestly, Ari will tell you how many times we had burgers at 3 in the morning. A Jew has that bracha. Yeah, he can go to yeshiva and he can go and learn and get religious and really become Jewish. I mean, I was not Jewish. I mean, culturally, bar mitzvah, but tshuva brought me to where I got to go. That's a bracha I had for being born a Jew. They don't have that. So by the time they found the Noahide path, he's 50 years old with a broken back and Marge and the whole story, not converting. Yeah, it's a dead end. Right? Where he's not going to live the life of a Jew in the Kehillah and all these things. He doesn't have to. So if that's who those people are, might as well do it. If they want more, and in terms of what more is better, no, of what the community of Judaism offers, and they have the mazel and bracha to do it, because what the hey? My experience has told me that the majority of folks out there fall under the category of I can't fill in the blank because of a million reasons. And that's not my job to question that, delve into that, and convince them otherwise. And I've seen a lot of nasty behavior endorsing divorce and leave your spouse and horrible things. So, what I guess the ultimate message is there are X amount of kosher viable paths. Converting is a kosher viable path. I think I agree with you. Noahide is really not, in my opinion, the best path. It's like, we're talking about lowest common denominator. It is the lowest common denominator. It's just not even real. It's a made-up thing. It's called I came out of church, and now, God willing, I won't stay there forever, or even very long. But it's like a makom patur in the laws of Shabbos. It's a place to hang out, get rid of Yeshu, and come back to life, and figure out where you want to go. Just like every Baal Tshuva goes to a Baal Tshuva yeshiva, and they don't stay there. You move on, and you find your way in Judaism. And that's really all I'm fighting against. Is stop telling, not you, out in the world, stop holding people back and saying, this is all, folks. Let them find their way. Let them go where they want to go. And Ger Toshav will be an option for those it's an option too. If it's for one guy in the world, then I've done my job. That's all it is. It may be one guy. It's not for me to say. Experience tells me it's more than one guy. But they should have options laid out in emes. It should not be a political war, or an agenda war, an imperial war. It should just be bringing the Torah and God to people that are seeking and helping people on their natural path and bringing the world to its logical conclusion, which is Mashiach and Ezekiel's temple, whatever that means from Shemayim. I know what I think it means. I've studied. You can learn and find out, and I hope that's what I've inspired here. Just dig a little deeper. Don't be afraid of the conflicts. We've seen a little bit of conflict here with a couple of our friends. It's not a problem. Just hash it out. Discuss it. Usually you'll find you agree more than you disagree. Or one didn't say it as good as the other one, and say it a little better, as they say in yeshiva. So if I've inspired that of an old shemekel, then buy the book on Amazon for $18.